Hi guys, welcome to this video on performance management strategies. The idea of this video is to understand how performance management strategies are used to achieve both business objectives and employee objectives. You can read more about this key knowledge in your textbook, Jacaranda 2.11. Performance management can be defined as when the business focuses on improving both business and individual performance through relating business objectives to individual employee performance objectives. Um, Performance management is getting employees involved, linking their personal goals, and hopefully achieving whatever objectives we have set, generally related to productivity, effectiveness, and efficiency. Performance management will occur regularly. Based on the strategy, it will change, but an important thing to consider is that these strategies all involve feedback, which we've established as being important with goal setting theory. The first strategy that you need to know is management by objectives. This is where management and an employee agree on a goal or a series of goals for the employee. These goals then contribute to the business as a whole. Now, employee goals can range. There's no set, list that you need to know, but they could be things like turning up on time, cleanliness of your work area and your production. It might be like in a kitchen, for example. It could be meeting deadlines for projects or tasks. So these are individual employee goals, which then contribute to the business objectives overall. So we start with in this little diagram over here, business objectives are clearly defined. So as a manager, we know what the objectives are. Then we work with the employees to create goals for them. So the employees are involved in this process. Ultimately, the manager will decide what they are, but keeping employees involved, again, is an important part of goal setting theory. So we come up with a goal for the employees, and then they start working towards that goal. You as the manager will need to regularly monitor the progress of the employee. So it's keeping tabs on what they are doing, how they are progressing, and also part of that is providing feedback. Even throughout the process of working towards the goal, giving feedback to the employee is important. Once they reach the objective or there's the deadline or whatever it may be, there is some sort of appraisal, performance appraisal. So reviewing on how they went, but also either rewarding or providing corrective action depending on how the employee went. So if they did not meet the goal or did not meet the deadline, a corrective action could be training. In severe cases, it could be things like demotion or some sort of sanction, which you guys have looked at previously. But once they reach the end of it, employees should receive some sort of praise as well, whether it's some sort of financial or promotion. It can also be verbal praises as well from management. The important thing here is, though, that feedback must be provided. The advantages: employees who are involved in goal setting are more likely to be dedicated and productive. We have established this. Both the manager and employee know what's expected of them under this management by objectives strategy. It can highlight areas where the employee needs training, and it improves communication because everyone is aware of what the goals are and what the business objectives are. Disadvantages: it can be time consuming with the check-ins, meetings and feedback. So depending on how often the goals have been set and how often you're checking in, that will change this. Failure to meet objectives can lead to demoralized employees, which could lead to things like absenteeism, turnover, being unproductive, that sort of stuff. Staff who meet objectives expect rewards, and we don't always have the finances to do that, and not relevant for all employee types. The second strategy you need to be aware of is appraisal, and this is the formal assessment of how efficiently and effectively an employee is performing their role in the business. Now, the appraisal is between the manager and the employee, and there's a few different purposes to this. One is to provide feedback to employees regarding work performance. So, how they're going, what are the strengths, what might be the areas that they need to improve on. Appraisals can also act as a sort of springboard to promotions and pay rises. Managers will use the information and use the appraisal as an opportunity to present those things if the business isn't in a position to do so. It helps monitor employee performance and makes management aware of where employees are at. It can help identify training and development needs, and it allows you to identify objectives for the employee to put in place that would lead to improved performance. So it might be training goals that they might need to meet. It might be some sort of mentorship that they might need. It could be goals like being on time again, or turning up on time, leaving your workstation neat, tidy, that sort of stuff. It also allows management to review employee objectives to ensure they align with business objectives, because as we've established previously, that sometimes employees may have a personal objective that may not align and work with what the business is trying to achieve. There are three methods of appraisal that you need to know. The SA method is when the manager journals each employee being appraised. So they write down everything that they observe about the employees under their watch, under their management, and then they go through the appraisal and they sit down with the employee and go through all this information that they've collected. The second one is the critical incident method, where the manager will record only exceptionally good or exceptionally bad performance. So they're not too worried about every little detail, they're just looking at the extremes on both ends. Comparison method is where employees are ranked against a predetermined performance criteria. So before going into an appraisal meeting, employees will be told ahead of time what they're being monitored on, for example. It makes it really clear for employees when doing a comparison, what is the criteria? Is it my productivity? Is it the level of mistakes or defects that I make in the production line, etc.? Management by objectives is not the name of this slide. This is meant to say appraisal. Okay, I will go in and change that. So, appraisal. It facilitates communication between management and employees. Okay, so it's opening up that doorway to communication. It provides feedback, which we have established as important, and it allows managers to be informed when making decisions regarding promotions. The disadvantages of appraisal, okay, because it's a formal process, it can be time consuming if it's done regularly. So if it's done weekly or monthly, it's very time consuming for the manager and for the employees to prepare for it and to come in and have those meetings. It can be stressful. Employees may feel stressed about the process, especially if it's not clear what the criteria is that they're being appraised against. And staff who meet performance standards or exceed them will expect some sort of reward, which can be, our ability to do that as a business can be limited. Self-evaluation is the third strategy that you need to know. Self-evaluation is where the employee assesses themselves against a set criteria. The criteria is set by management, and the employees just go through it themselves and assess themselves against it. Employees can be asked the following questions, and this is not an extensive list. They can be asked what their strengths are, their weaknesses, what they could have done better during the review period or against that set criteria, and what initiatives could the employee take to become better. The aim of this, of course, is to open up dialogue between employees and management, but also giving time for employees to critically reflect on their performance. Self-evaluation actively involves employees in performance management. It gets them to sort of understand what management is looking for as well, which can be important when looking at career progression or improving performance, improving practice. Employees self-reflect, which is important. The process allows them to do that. They might not get time to actually self-reflect and review themselves at any other point without this being implemented. It provides insight into how employees perceive their performance, so what they think their strengths and weaknesses are versus what management thinks their strengths and weaknesses are. And it highlights the need for training, which is important because we want to continually develop our employees so that they are productive, efficient and effective and work towards our objectives. Disadvantages include employees overstating their performance, so believing they're doing a better job than they are, which could lead to some maybe difficult conversations with the manager. Employees can be ill-equipped to undertake self-assessment, so especially new employees to an industry or new employees to a business, they might not be in the best position to undertake self-assessment. They might not know what's fully required of them yet in their job, so it's hard to assess yourself against something that you don't know the requirements of. And again, provision of training. So this will lead to more expenses. Again, we want to train our staff, but sometimes we are limited by the money in our business. The fourth and final strategy is employee observation, and this is where a variety of opinions on employee performance is sought with the aim of creating a comprehensive picture of performance. So we are getting feedback from managers, other employees, customers, and suppliers. You don't have to do all of those stakeholders, but you're going to use a few different stakeholders under this method. It's also referred to as the 360-degree method as well. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages, of course. Advantages include that we're getting a broad range of viewpoints. So a broad range of stakeholders are providing their opinion on employee performance and what they think is going on. It allows, again, the employee and management to understand strengths and weaknesses, but from the perspective of customers, for example. So what is their customer service like? It would be different to what management or what employees and peers may think. Other employees who are part of the process of observing could imitate and take on positive behaviors, which is good. We want that. We want to, learn from each other, the positives, not the negatives, hopefully. Employees receive feedback from observation staff, which is good. Employees do value feedback from peers, so it's good that they're involved because generally employees are more trusting of their peers than, say, management. Disadvantages: employees may feel stressed when being observed, completely natural, so they might act unnatural in some cases, so not everything's going to be a true reflection of how that employee operates. You need to have a really positive corporate culture. You need to have a really trusting environment for this to occur. If you distrust management, you distrust your peers, you're not going to want them observing you, and it's not going to be a true reflection, and you might not take on their feedback because of that perception that, no, they're attacking me, or you don't feel valued. So that needs to be established in a business, that corporate culture. Staff who receive overwhelmingly positive feedback from a variety of stakeholders will expect something in return: a pay rise, a promotion. So we might find ourselves in a position to provide that or not to provide that, and that will have repercussions. In summary, some key takeaway points would be that we need to have performance management strategies. They need to be regular, there needs to be feedback involved regardless of the strategy you pick, and they need to be conducted fairly and impartially, so everyone is treated the same, against the same criteria, with the same expectations based on their role. We need to provide feedback. I can't understate that. If you don't provide feedback, employees can't improve their performance, and then you're really doing performance management for no reason at all. The idea is that feedback is provided so that improvements can be made. Corporate culture plays a huge role in employees trusting performance management processes, so we need to establish that. It's a great method of identifying areas for improvement and areas for training for staff. And in some cases, as a consequence, if an objective is not met, if an appraisal is not passed, there could be some sort of corrective action. So like a low level or like less harsh correction would be training. A harsh correction would be termination, or it could be some other sanction that you guys looked at previously. If you have any questions, please contact me. We'll unpack these ideas in the next lesson.